Welcome everyone to the game between Anish Giri and Alireza Firouzja at the Super Chess Classic 2026 in Bucharest, Romania. Anish Giri with the white pieces has a very pleasant position. You can see that his bishop is nicely placed close to the black king. Also, the pawns in black's camp are a bit weak, and Anish is taking his time. He has 29 minutes on the clock. Meanwhile, Firouzja down to 4 minutes. The bishop comes back to c3, attacking the queen. And Firouzja planning to swing his queen over. Maybe goes back to queen d8. And Anish now brings his knight to f4, attacking the rook. Notice if the rook goes back, then rook takes d6 is hanging. And so he plays a very shocking move, rook f6, giving up the exchange. Because if bishop f4, queen f4, the dark squares become terribly weak. So bishop takes, queen takes, and now Anish is a complete exchange up. This should be simply winning for him. Knight comes back to d3, offering a trade of queens. And Firouzja takes, pawn takes on f3. So everything is well set for white now. Extra exchange. The only compensation that Firouzja has is the bishop pair, and look at him making that move, bishop h3. He is quite disgusted with his position, and f4. What was the need to play that move? I believe Anish wanted to make use of the c file, but he had moves like knight b4, attacking here, rook on d6, and he could have been clearly better, but after f4, c5, now b3 played, stopping c4. You have a5. Firouzja's position suddenly starts to look pretty okay because a4 is coming in. He has counterplay. e5 played by Anish. He's trying to force things. Pawn takes pawn. He takes back with the pawn. And suddenly, this bishop is once again activated. So, in a way, what was the need for Anish to play f3, f4 still remains a big question. Now, knight takes c5. You have to give up the exchange, it seems. He takes it. Cool move. Because if you played a move like rook e1, then suddenly rook c8 and it would be very good counterplay. So knight c5, bishop d1, rook d1. And now Alireza Firouzja is back in the game. He's got back the exchange, but Anish is still a pawn up. He brings his knight to b7. One of the things that Anish Giri is very good at is trying to grind such equalish endgames. Rook c2, attacking the a2 pawn. And now check to the king. King g7. And if you take on a5, you're going to lose on a2. So a4 played, a nice move. Because when you take on a5, now the b3 pawn will be defended. h4. Firouzja is trying for a mating net with h3 and rook c1. And the rook comes back to d3, stopping the pawn there. In fact, bishop d2 was a much better move. But after h4, rook d3, bishop d2, he plays it again, Firouzja. And Anish no longer getting that pawn. Knight to d6, he brings his knight back. And now bishop to b4. So black seems to have stabilized the position. And Anish goes king g2. He's not afraid of this trade because after e takes d6, the pawn is just queening. So king f8, and now he must think about it because takes, king e8, king d8 could block the pawn. So he brings his knight back to c4. King comes up to e7. The idea is to put the king on e6. Knight to e3, attacking the c2 rook. And the rook comes to b2, putting pressure on the b3 pawn. I'm not too sure how to continue here as white because black has so much counterplay. Even though Anish is a pawn up, it's not at all easy to make progress. He goes knight to g4. And maybe he's trying to get knight h6 and attack the f7 pawn. King comes up to e6. Would love to play f4, but the pawn is pinned. Rook to f3 played. So if you take Okay, you can't take. The knight defends it. Bishop comes to c5, eyeing the f2 pawn. And now Anish simply plays h3, says everything's protected. f2 is protected, b3 is protected, the knight protects the pawn. Bishop goes back to e7. The only way to make progress now is knight h6, attacking the pawn on f7. And 40 moves have been completed, so both players got extra time. Rook c3. And I believe Alireza will come back with his bishop here on b4. He does play his bishop to b4, attacking the rook. The rook needs to move again. Rook f3. And now the bishop comes back to e7. The only way to make progress is knight h6, and Anish finds it. Because if king e5, he has rook e3 check, a very nice move. And after king d6, knight f7. So this is the reason why f5 is played. But now e takes f6, bishop takes f6. And the knight, he goes rook to d3, stopping the king from coming up ahead. Bishop g5. And the knight comes back to g4. Alireza would be pleased with what he's managed to achieve in the last few moves. Bishop f4. But Anish Giri will definitely try his best to put pressure. He goes king f3. And you can see the knight is so well placed now defending this pawn that the king is free to move. If the king can get to b5, then that would be clearly better for white. So Anish goes king e4. For Firouzja, it's difficult to create counterplay. He goes pawn to g5. But now, are we getting king d4, king c4, king b5? Yes, we are. King d4 on the board. And Firouzja waits with rook d1, rook b1. But if he goes here, it's already defended. King c4, the king is coming in. One way to also think is that there's nothing much happening here. Once the king gets to b5, you have bishop b4. He plays check. King f5 makes a lot of sense, keeping the king active. And now knight h6 check. Okay, king goes to f4. Alireza is asking Anish, what's your plan? Rook e6. Whoa, what a move. Because you can't take the pawn, the bishop is hanging. So bishop e5 played, a nice move. And now knight g4, once again attacking the bishop. He goes bishop to b2. And now Anish has to come back, otherwise he might be in trouble. Yes, he comes back, defends the pawn. Nothing much has changed here, I think. Whoa, what rook h3 by Alireza? What a move. He takes, king takes g4, and he has 5 minutes on the clock. Anish Giri has 1 minute 47 seconds. Rook h1. Was that a right decision? Because think about it, b4 is coming and the a pawn can get passer. But bishop a3 stops the move, b4. He goes rook g1. And now king f4. Good move. Alireza playing amazingly well. g4 now. Let's get the pawns rolling. He goes pawn to g4. And Anish Giri playing quickly. King e2 brings his king in. h3 important move. He finds it. The game is still equal. Can Alireza hold the draw now? King f1. Bishop comes back to c5. In fact, this position could be very difficult for Anish. Take bishop f2. King f2, h2. And now it's a draw because king g2, h1. But he blunders. He plays h2. No, it's not a blunder. King g2. King g2. Stopping the pawn. But now bishop f2. He takes it. It's still equal. Wow. This is hanging. You can't take. Rook comes to c3. Now g3. Very simple. It seems like Alireza has managed to get past the worst. He does play pawn to g3. And now Anish, b4 played. Wow, what a move. If a b4, a pawn starts to roll, he goes bishop e1, a big blunder, he simply misses. Rook c4 check and b5. I mean, it's a shocking move by Alireza Firouzja. How did he miss it? Anish getting excited. Of course not bishop e1. He had to, if he had taken a b4, that was also drawn. But bishop e1, check. And Alireza, I don't know what has he miscalculated, because you can push b5, you can take on a5, both are winning. He pushes b5 and all of a sudden there's nothing, because if you queen, he does queen here, king takes, and if king f2 you simply give a check and there's no way for the g pawn to move ahead. King f3 threatening the last trap with g2. Anish simply comes back, rook c2. I mean, that's game over. Yeah, rook to c2. Beautiful job. And Anish Giri manages to win this game. Yeah, Firouzja resigns. What a huge result here. And Anish Giri, well, he should be happy with this result, but Firouzja was so close to a draw. I mean, especially after the move b4, there were many ways to draw. One of them was h1, queen, check, king takes h1, and now bishop e1. And the point is, if rook c4, king f3 is possible, g2 is threatened, and also b4 is threatened. You can't handle both. If rook c1, bishop takes b4, and the game ends in a draw. I think Alireza simply blanked out here. Instead of h1, he played bishop e1 check, and that was the undoing, because check, now he doesn't have the f3 square, and b5, and this is completely winning for Anish Giri. You can see there Anish asking Alireza what was it that he missed, and it was just a very, very simple miss. And you can see Alireza shocked. He can't believe that he missed that thing. He missed this. And well, for Anish, he was better, then he lost his chance, and now in the end he gets a big one. In these tournaments like Super Chess Classic, wins are super difficult, so this one will be really, really important for the leaderboard and for Anish's chances in this tournament.